para ustedes y sus familias. Hoy vamos a estar hablando del USCIS, cantidad de tiempo que está llevando por permisos, para aprobar casos. Y como siempre, si tienen preguntas, comentarios, ahí le puede poner abajo. Okay, empezamos en inglés, después vamos a español. All right, folks, so we're going to talk today about USCIS, coming back similar to the topic we talked about last week, but there's been some new announcements in this past week, so I wanted to relate to folks what's going on there and go over some of the things that I see as a problem, even with their announcement and their spinning that they're trying to do right now. As always, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you have any concerns, drop them down below in the comments section. We'll do my best to address them right now. If you don't want to put personal information, which you should not, in the comments section, just send me a direct message, send me an email. Happy to see anything we can do to help out in the areas of criminal, immigration, and personal injury. Got the view behind me finally working here. Last week it was a little bit whited out, but hey, you can see that's not the green screen, that's the real deal back there. A beautiful Thursday afternoon in Phoenix, Arizona. Thursday morning still, sorry. Thursday morning in Phoenix, Arizona. All right, so USCIS announced that they are going to be adding additional time to certain work permits. This was an article that came out in today's AZ Central by the great Rafael Carranza. Who's getting these additional work permits? Instead of 1 year, they're not going to be for 2 years. Those refugees, asylees who have been granted, not pending status. That's a very important distinction, right? Why is that such an important distinction? Because the vast majority of people that are in this line for work permits are those seeking asylum who have not yet been granted. Still waiting for their day in court, still waiting for their interview. Individuals granted withholding of deportation or removal, that's a very hard thing to win. Like really, it's like above asylum, difficult to win. So not a lot of people fit in that category. Applicants under the Violence Against Women Act, what is that? If you suffered mentally, physically abuse from your U.S. citizen or permanent resident, children, normally a spouse, or parents, you might be able to apply for VAWA instead of having to wait to have this abuser apply for you on your own behalf. Those work permits going from 1 year to 2. Individuals paroled into the country for urgent humanitarian reasons. Additionally, they'll be getting a 2-year work permit. And finally, individuals granted deferred action, but not including the DACA program. Now, what does that mean? Well, prior to DACA in 2012, there was a traditional deferred action program, which anybody could apply to and say, hey, my situation is XYZ. I think I should qualify for a deferred action, a promise to not be deported, and a work permit to stay in the country. Those individuals also are going to be getting the 2-year instead of 1. And you might remember when we had DACA in full play, there was a move by the Obama administration to do a 3-year work permit instead of a 2, and now we're kind of seeing a glimpse why, right? The reason why they were wanting to do that was because work permits can take up such a long amount of time in processing that all the other cases fall behind. So if we can get longer periods of work permits authorized, that's less work for USCIS to have to do because people aren't having to renew so often, and they can focus on other cases. Why is that relevant? In this article, right, they go on to talk about a new mission statement from USCIS. If you remember, we have another video on it, the past in the Trump administration, they changed the mission statement of USCIS. They took it out, right? So now we have the rebranding going on. See if we can get that bad boy back up here and explain what they're doing now. So agency rebrands mission statement, here it is. Trump took out the word a nation of immigrants from USCIS, which is the agency with the authority to grant work permits and residency and citizenship to individuals here in the country. And now USCIS has come out with a new one, which I'm not a huge fan of. USCIS upholds America's promise as a nation of welcome and possibility with fairness, integrity, and respect for all that we serve. So they didn't include the nation of immigrants. That didn't make a way back into it. And you see the problem we have when we have someone on the far right take control, move the spectrum this way to the right. When the next person comes back in the office, instead of it coming back to where it was, it just comes back a little bit more towards where it used to be, but the spectrum is still leaning more now towards the right. And why do I say that? Because we no longer have a nation of immigrants in the mission statement, which, you know, I can see why other people say, hey, this is not just a nation of immigrants. We need to be respectful of all, including people that were here before. Nonetheless, I don't think that's what USCIS is meaning here, right? But they are saying now we're upholding America's promise as a nation of welcome and possibility with fairness, integrity, and respect for all we serve. Okay, it doesn't sound too bad. I can roll with it. Just not a huge fan of it not going back to something a little bit stronger with a more emphasis on we are a nation that will continue to build with immigrants, and our history has continued to grow and make us stronger with immigration. But that's where we're at right now. Okay, so all this article, nice article, very, very good job done there. One thing that they're not talking about that I wanted to share with everybody, anytime you want to know your processing time on a case, you just Google USCIS case processing times. It'll take you to this web page here. Any form you want, you can go click the drop-down menu over here, and the drop-down menu will give you the option of which form you want to put on there to see how long USCIS is normally taking with the case. So, for purpose of example, I'm using today I-601A. I-601A is if someone came into the country unlawfully when they were a child, they were brought in without a tourist visa or a student visa by their parents, and 20 years later they marry a U.S. citizen. The U.S. citizen wants to apply and have their family and everybody together, everybody happy. So you would think a U.S. citizen marrying somebody that's been here 20 years and they now have 3 U.S. citizen kids, I mean, what should that take? What do you think it should take for them to be able to fix the paperwork of their spouse who has no criminal record, not done anything wrong, has 3 U.S. citizen kids now, and been here 20 years, graduated high school, pays taxes, all that good stuff? How long should that take? A month? Maybe 2 months? You want to make sure that they have an interview and prove that the marriage is real and it's not just for papers, right? It shouldn't take that long. Well, what we have to do in this case is we have to file an I-130. So the I-130 is first that validity of marriage. So we have to prove that. So let's go up to I-130 petition over here for alien relative. We put that here. Select a processing center. Let's just randomly select California here. Let's see what California gives us. There's all different kinds of service centers for different kind of applications. But this is how long I-130s are taking. This is not for the spouses, right? We have permanent residents filing for a spouse, which is different than citizens filing for a spouse. But that's a 22.5 to 29 month wait. Whoa. Right? That's crazy. U.S. citizen filing for a spouse, parent, or child under 21, 29.5 to 38.5 months? What is this? Is this wrong? Is this like a episode of the Twilight Zone? We really want to take this long for someone to be able to get their family member and does not even go this category down here, right? Married, son or daughter over 21. That also has to do this one that looks ridiculous, but the visa's not even going to be available probably for even longer than that based on the wait times we have right now. So that's the California Service Center. Let's throw it here. Let's see what Texas is at. Let's get the processing times for Texas over here. And we come down and we see permanent resident filing for a spouse or child. So if you get selected in Texas, that's your service center, 18 and 23.5 months. U.S. citizen filing for a spouse, parent, or child under 21, which is normally what we normally see. This is what I was expecting to see, the 10.5 to 14 months, right? That is to prove only the validity of the marriage. You can't even ask what's going on with my case unless you submitted it before December 23, 2020. That's what this date means over here, receipt date for a case inquiry. So if you filed it after that date, they just want you to wait. You're just sitting and waiting. You've gone 2 Christmases now, and you still don't have an answer on your first step of the application for your spouse. That's been here 20 years, 3 U.S. citizen kids. I'm just making this is a fact I'm making up, right? But this is totally someone that would be in the situation 10.5 to 14 months to get that first part approved. All right. So we've waited now 14 months. We got our interview. We proved the marriage is valid. You think at that point, out of the interview, the person would be like, yeah, I'm a permanent resident now, right? I can finally breathe assured that I belong in this country and I'm here with my family. Nobody's going to take me away. Wrong. That's just the I-130. That's the first part of the process. After you win the I-130, you then have to go and file what's called, and again, the circumstances could be different, but we're saying someone entered without inspection, the I-601A. 2 service centers here. Let's just pick Nebraska. I-601A is the application we submit. End of the day, it should be this thick. Doing it with the notario might be about this thick. Good attorney, notario, all right? That's how big the packet's going to be. And we submit the packet. Takes a few months to put together. We have to prove extreme hardship to the spouse in order to get this waiver approved, waiving the fact that they didn't come in with authorization. 22 to 28 and a half months. 22 to 28 and a half months. You got 14 months for the first part of the case, 28 and a half months for the second part of the case. I went to law school, went to a good law school. I didn't go to math school, right? That's a long time. 14 plus 28 is a whole lot, right? To wait to see whether or not the 601A waiver can be granted. So after you wait the 28 and a half plus 14 months, right, then you're a resident, right? No. After you've waited all that time, we're talking about over 3 years now, based on the numbers we're getting from USCIS, then you're scheduled for an interview in your country of origin. And who knows, like if you're from Mexico, Ciudad Juarez, when that interview is going to be scheduled for. They haven't been taking as long as these other parts of the process have been taking, but you still have to wait more and then leave the country to go to your final interview. Why on earth are we making it so difficult for someone to fix the paperwork of their spouse, the love of their life, the mother or father or their children, to fix their status? Why? Why take so long? And the solution that the Biden administration comes up with is let's find the lowest amount of time that we can, of work permits that we can, to change that category to 2 years, because that's going to solve it. It's like the amount of people that fit in that category that they're talking about that we have in our office, I can put onto like one hand. It's very, very low, the amount of people that applies to. And that's going to fix this giant backlog? That's insane. So USCIS, great job on getting your new mission statement out. Great job on increasing the work permit for a year for a handful of people. But I'm being sarcastic, woefully inadequate with over 1 year in office, that these are the minimal amount of changes that we're getting to speed up the benefits for those seeking to legally do it the right way, like everybody says. This is a conversation just about those limited folks that have an avenue of relief. We're not talking about the millions that there's nothing that we can do for. But that's USCIS, that's where we're at. That's the Biden administration today. Questions, comments, concerns, como siempre, put it down there in the comments section below. Be more than happy to take them right now. I'm going to switch over to Espanol. Hope you got your café here, right? It's Café con Abogado Thursday. It's black and strong as can be. That's how I like that café. I'm going to switch over to Espanol, but of course, drop your questions down in English si quieres, or Espanol como ustedes quieren. Okay? ¿Qué tal, comunidad? Hoy estamos hablando del tiempo que está tardando las aplicaciones de USCIS. Hay un anuncio en el periódico hoy que USCIS anunció que lo están haciendo 2 años permiso de trabajo en vez de 1 año por ciertas categorías de personas que están aplicando permisos de trabajo. Lo hicieron eso porque quería hacer más tiempo o menos tiempo para otras personas que están esperando sus aplicaciones y los agentes pueden enfocar más en esos casos. Pero el problema viene siendo que la categoría de personas que está dando 2 años de permiso en vez de 1 año es muy chiquito. Son gente que ya ganó asilo, gente que ganó su caso en contra la Convención en contra de tortura, gente que pidió acción diferida, no DACA, otro programa. Son personas que normalmente tienen un permiso de 1 año, lo extendieron a 2 años. También anunciaron un nuevo enfoque de la organización de USCIS, porque Trump cambió eso, quitó Nación de Inmigrantes de esta agencia y anunció algo nuevo USCIS, pero no es nada que es un cambio muy drástico. El cambio drástico que yo he visto en mi tiempo de ser abogado de inmigración es la cantidad de tiempo que estamos esperando para ganar los casos, para que alguien pueda recibir el fin de día su residencia. Y tenía esta aplicación aquí. Eso es gratis, no es nada especial que tiene un abogado. Cada persona que quiere puede poner ahí USCIS Case Processing Times para ver cuánto tiempo están tardando las aplicaciones. Aquí también, para tener acceso a este sitio en español, presiona aquí y mira, ya está todo en español. ¿Okay? Aquí podemos ir. ¿Y por qué usamos esta página? Esta página nos puede decir cuánto tiempo está tardando migración a dar decisión sobre las aplicaciones. No es específico para su caso, no, es otra página que en otro video lo puedo enseñar, pero ahorita lo que estamos haciendo es buscando cuánto tiempo lo está haciendo una petición familiar de extranjero. Como todos saben, la aplicación para empezar el proceso de probar el matrimonio es válido. Vamos a ir aquí a ver cuánto tiempo lo está tardando. Aquí vamos a ir abajo para que nos dice. Hoy estamos enfocando en petición para esposa o esposo de ciudadano americano, 10 y medio a 14 meses. Okay, 10 y medio a 14 meses. Es para la primer parte de la aplicación, la I-130. Para aprobar, y a lo mejor tiene una entrevista con migración sobre el matrimonio, si es válido o no, puede durar unos 14 meses. Si mandó su aplicación después del 26 de diciembre de 2020, ni puede preguntar qué está pasando con mi aplicación. Nomás le van a decir, tiene que seguir esperando. Cuando llegamos a 14 meses y tienen la entrevista, si una persona entró sin visa, no tiene 245I, nada en el ejército, entonces es el primer parte del caso, no ganamos residencia, ni ganamos permiso de trabajo. Nada más ganamos permiso de seguir al siguiente parte del caso, que se llama el perdón. Recuerda que el perdón es para alguien que no entró con permiso y estaba aquí en el país por más de 1 año sin presencia legal. ¿Ok? 14 meses esperamos por la I-130. Luego vamos a ir aquí otra vez y a ver, ok, el I-601A, ese perdón, ¿cuánto tiempo lleva? Aquí podemos poner aquí, el I-601A está tardando 22 a 28.5 meses para una respuesta. Más de 2 años. ¿Verdad? 14 meses el primer parte del caso, 2 años siguiente parte, ya estamos a más de 3 años. Si alguien está casado con ciudadano americano, tiene 20 años en el país, tiene 3 hijos ciudadanos americanos, de todos modos, si él es elegible para arreglar, para el segundo parte del caso, tenemos que esperar 3 años. Señor Biden, alguien por favor traducir este video para usted o ver el primer parte en inglés. Eso no es justo. No puede darnos la reforma, ¿verdad? No puede darnos la reforma y ya tenemos que esperar los mínimo 3 años para arreglar por un esposo o esposa. Es increíble. Y también después de esa entrevista no está completamente ganado el caso. De todos modos, tiene que ir a su país de origen para la última entrevista. Se puede ser unos 4 años hasta que manda la primera aplicación de migración, que la persona regresa con residencia. Y tiene que ser, estamos seguros que es admisible al país. Bien injusto si está tardando demasiado tiempo. ¿Okay? Una pregunta que tenemos aquí de YouTube. Hola Juan, ojalá todo está bien con ustedes. Can we get your opinion on Maria Elvira Salazar's bill, the Dignity Act, that was introduced? How far do you see this going? I'll be completely honest with you, Juan. I have not seen it. So let me look that up, give it a reading, and I'll do another video just on the Dignity Act, my opinion on it and where I think it'll go. I like the name, the TDA. Let's get the Dignity Act. But let me read it first before I say let's get it passed. But thanks for the question. We'll get another video out on that shortly. Otros comentarios, preguntas, por favor, ponga ahorita. Ya tenemos la vista aquí, bien linda. Todos piensan que Phoenix es puro desierto. Yo nací en Douglas, crecí aquí en Phoenix, y yo también pensaba que era puro desierto, pero cuando estamos viendo afuera, sí podemos ver muchos árboles, mucho verde que tenemos en esta bella ciudad de Phoenix, Arizona. Ojalá ustedes están en un lugar también con buen clima ahorita, y esperamos que todos están bien de salud, ustedes y su familia. Otras preguntas, comentarios, ponga abajo. Si no, nos vamos a hacer otro video sobre el Dignity Act pronto y hacemos otra vez el live cada jueves. So, corre el voz, por favor. Si nos está viendo en YouTube, pone subscribe. En Facebook también nos avisa todos. Si tiene preguntas, cada jueves aquí vamos a estar contestando de migración, de penal o de accidentes. Que tienen muy excelente semana, comunidad, y aquí nos vemos pronto.